Welcome to the MYS Virtual Hangout. Here's your host, MYS Music Director, Raul Gomez.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another MYS Virtual Hangout. I am very excited about our guest this afternoon. Casey Bozell is our guest. She's standing by. She's a fantastic violinist. She's also a host of a new podcast that just came out a couple of weeks ago. Actually, episode 3 dropped today. Her new podcast is Keep Classical Weird. One of my favorite things about Casey is just her passion and her enthusiasm for music. That's really it grabs you whether she's on stage or behind a microphone as a host. You can see this in her performances and the way she just engages with people and with audiences. She's the concertmaster of the Newport Symphony. She plays with the Portland Opera Orchestra. She plays with the OBT, Oregon Ballet Theater Orchestra. She plays chamber music. She teaches. She commissions new music. She does it all. And she's standing by and she's joining us from her home. And let's go to Casey. And there you are. Hi.
Hello, how are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us for this MYS Virtual Hangout.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for asking me.
Yeah, how's it going?
Fine. I mean, everything's weird, but it's fine. It's,
Yeah, right.
It's okay. Yeah.
Remind me, do you live in Portland, right?
Yeah, Tigard specifically.
Tigard. Yeah. Okay, cool. And while you're based here in the Portland metro area, your work takes you to different parts of Oregon. How long have you been playing with the Newport Symphony?
I have been there. I played with them as a substitute and actually as a core player, I think like 5 or 6 years back. But as concertmaster, I've been with them for 2 seasons now.
Cool. And are you originally from Oregon?
No. I grew up in Colorado. I was born in Missouri, but I grew up in Colorado.
And how? Okay, you know what? Let's go way back because one of our favorite things to do on this show, because our primary audience is MYS musicians, and they're in high school or younger. We like to get to know our guests and how they got started in music and their journey that eventually took them to where they are right now. So let's go way back and take us to your very beginnings in music. Did you grow up in a musical family?
My parents aren't professional musicians, but they've always known. I mean, they knew how to read music. And my dad actually played in a classic rock cover band. He plays electric bass. And so my whole time, it was awesome. Their name and so I grew up actually as well as classical tunes.
Looks like we're losing our connection here. Casey, can you hear me?
Okay, now I can hear you. Okay.
Cool.
All right.
So I think we kind of lost you when you were talking about your dad and playing in a band.
Right. So he plays electric bass, and so he played in a band called Nightwolf the whole time I was growing up. And nice. So I got to know actually classic rock tunes just as well as classical tunes. And the joke we always had is that I literally had to tell my dad to turn the music down sometimes when I was a teenager. So, I always had music around, and I knew how to. I kind of learned how to read music and plunk around on the piano. I didn't take piano lessons or anything, but we always had a piano around. And then in 4th grade, when I was 9, I was lucky enough to be in a school with a music program where they said you could take an instrument, you can sign up for these classes. And so I went to the the night where they had all of the instruments that you could like try out. And I got in line for the oboe, but it was too long. It would take me way too long to get up to the front of the line because I was interested in the oboe. And I'm so glad that the line was too long because I am not genetically inclined to be an oboe player. And
But that's kind of unusual, that to see I mean, right, for double reeds, that's actually really cool. That
oh yeah, they had everything. I mean, yeah, we could choose really whatever we wanted. It was a pretty extensive program. But and then I ended up, after that, I ended up in line for the violin, and we got a violin, and
the line for the violin was shorter.
The line for the violin was shorter
Wow.
than the line for the oboe. I know. I don't know why. That was the universe very specifically telling me to go in a direction. Yeah.
And why were you interested in the oboe along with half of your class?
I don't know. I don't remember
any
particular. Yeah, I don't remember any particular thing that drew me to the oboe. I think it looked kind of cool.
Sure.
It's kind of it's a powerful instrument, even though it's like so like kind of slender. It's not like it doesn't have like a huge physical presence on stage,
sure.
But it's a kind of big sound. I don't know. I was into it. I still am into it, but I'm glad I don't play it. It was not fit me.
And one thing that oboists kind of keep quiet when they're trying to recruit kids to play oboe is that they didn't tell them that they're going to be spending a lot of time making reeds, right?
Yeah. Yes, that seems like it requires an enormous amount of patience that I don't possess. So that's another good reason.
So you were 9, and here you are. Now you have a violin, and you had a little, piano, background and music at home. So did you take to it right away, and did you start making progress quickly? How was that?
I think I learned some things pretty quickly. In that I didn't have to spend time learning about things like, I knew a little bit about rhythm, and I knew a little bit about where the notes were in the staff. But things like, and this too, being a violinist, like learning how to make a sound that's not awful, that took a long time,
Well, I'm
that's
still
really
working
hard
on that myself.
I mean, I know. Every day I manage to make a sound that surprises me on the instrument. So yes. Yeah, so some things were easier than others because of that musical background. And then I kept going. I started taking private lessons when I was 10, so just the year after. And then I kept doing it. I kept taking those private lessons. I did the whole, I did all-state orchestra in high school for 2 or 3 years, I think, whatever was allowed. And then I got... I went on to get my undergrad at Northern Colorado, which is in Greeley, Colorado. And then I went on to get my master's at Northwestern University. And then I was done. Then I decided, once I got through that point, I said, I think I would like to not be in school for a little while.
Yeah. And before you went to college, though, during high school, and you were playing with all-state orchestras and all of that, was there also a youth orchestra? Was there any music making for you as a teenager outside of school?
Yes. There was a wonderful youth orchestra, which is still in practice there, called the Front Range Youth Symphony. And there's kind of a crazy story that happened with the Front Range Youth Symphony. So I was kind of working my way up through the levels. There were different levels of the symphony, kind of like MYS has. There are different groups, and so I was working my way up through the groups for several years, and I got to the top group as a junior in high school, and I was third chair. So the concertmaster and the assistant concertmaster were the same 2 guys for 3 years, I think. Mm-hmm. And the concertmaster, he was a year ahead of me, so he was going to graduate. And the assistant concertmaster, he and I were the same year. So we were seniors at the same time, and we both have our eyes on this chair, right? We both want to audition for it. So we ended up doing it, and I ended up getting concertmaster that year. And this poor guy, I will never forget it. I've never had an experience like this since, actually. He walked in the day that they posted chairs, and saw the names, and he turned around and walked out, and we never saw him again.
Whoa! Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was intense. So it was an interesting learning experience with how to gracefully enter a position that's maybe a coveted position, that's maybe something that's a little controversial. It was a huge learning curve to figure out how to navigate that, like personally with my classmates. So that was quite
that's kind of intense.
It was very intense. It was very intense. I mean, I was so grateful for the opportunity, and I'm really glad that it worked out that I could have that concertmaster experience, you know, as a senior. But yeah, it was there was talked about for quite a while.
Yeah. When I was in youth orchestra back home in Costa Rica, we had, you know, and I've been playing with these people. They're my friends. We've been playing together for years, you know.
Totally.
And during high school, there were about 3 of us also who were always kind of like basically, you know, rotating that chair. Like one of us would win the audition and the other one would win the audition. And for one of those auditions, one person, like at the, you know, conservatory, got frustrated and they walked over to the trash bin and just dumped their violin in the trash can and they just walked away.
You're kidding.
But then, you know, she picked it up and then she was back the following week. You know? But there was also drama like that.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's value in that competition, you know. But now, you know, however long, you know, this whole time later, I like to rotate leadership in our orchestras, and I think, you know, I mean, there's always a sense of competition, but I like giving as many students as possible the chance to lead, you know. So
I think that's great.
We didn't quite see that sort of like throw your violin in the trash can.
Oh, that's terrible! Oh my gosh, I'm glad she picked it back up. That's a better ending of the story than just.
And she's I mean, dear friend, a very successful professional musician now.
Oh wow!
Now, where in that whole process did you know that you were going to, you know, be a professional musician? That you're going to be a career musician?
So that's an interesting question, because I remember having a conversation with my parents. I think it was junior year of all state orchestra, and I was, you know, you go somewhere and you stay at a hotel and whatever, and I remember calling them, you know, on a payphone or whatever. I didn't have a cell phone at that time, and I remember telling them, you know what, I'm having such a great experience. I think this is something that I'm going to dedicate my life to. And my parents' response was, well, yeah, we knew that. Like we already understood what the story was. So they knew it before I did, with the amount of work that I put into it. I wasn't quite sure until kind of that moment, but they apparently could see something I could not see.
I see that. I mean, that's really cool that they, you know, supported you like that. And, you know,
they're great. Of course,
yeah. Your dad himself, like being a musician.
Yeah. So he's his day job is always what he has a PhD in organic chemistry, and so he's a research scientist, or he's retired now, but that's what he did, you know, during the day, and then on the weekends, you know, most Saturday nights he was out playing a gig. So I kind of got a little taste of that lifestyle.
And then, of course, you went to, like you said, the University of Northern Colorado, and then Northwestern in Evanston,
yes.
Illinois, for your master's. Okay, so I want to ask you about grad school, but before we do that, I would love to switch to our 2 truths and 1 lie little segment, and have you read those out for us if you have them out, and have people vote for them. If you don't, I can just read them. That's okay.
I think I remember them.
Yeah.
So the first statement I think I sent you was that I was prom queen in high school.
That is indeed the first one you sent. So that's going to be statement A, and it's up on the screen. And let's hear statement B.
Statement B is I have a minor in philosophy.
Okay, that's now up on the screen as well. And let's hear statement C.
Statement C, I was in a DDR tournament.
There it is. Okay, so if you're watching, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook, your job now is to find the lie. So please go ahead and vote on the comments on YouTube, on the live chat, Facebook, just the comments of the video for the statement that you believe is a lie. And I get to play too, and I have not made up my mind yet. I think I want to see if what trends we find in the voting here.
Fair. All right.
So at Northwestern, who do you study with there?
Gerardo Ribeiro was my teacher. He's one of the he's probably like the biggest name to come out of Portugal, actually, in terms of violins. I think he's still teaching there right now.
And of course, you teach now, and
Yeah.
you've had students also that go to the Metropolitan Youth Symphony for their ensemble experience.
Yeah.
When you think about your teaching now, do you find yourself thinking back of your grad school and undergrad teachers and how they influence you?
Oh, so much. Oh my gosh. So my undergrad teacher was Richard Fuchs, and he was one of the most just nurturing, really encouraging presences that I could ever ask for. Like, he was hard on me when he needed to be, but he was really like a father figure to me in terms of like just lifting me up and encouraging, and you can do this. And there was tough love when there needed to be, but it was always understood that it was tough love. And that's what I needed at that point in time, for sure, is I needed that nurturing. When I went to grad school, Mr. Ribeiro was different. He was very much straightforward. I mean, I think he viewed his studio as like, we take in the violins, we reformat them so they are ready for the professional world, and then we move them out.
Sure.
It's very much more on the business side of it, I think, than on a personal side. And again, that's what I needed at that point too, to really give me that boost to succeed in the professional world. And so when I see my students, I try really hard. I don't know how successful I am, but I try really hard to figure out what they need when. This, it varies by personality, it varies by the student, and it varies by what their goals are. There are some students that I felt like they would be most successful if I just said, do this assignment, get it done, just get the notes in tune, get, straightforward. And some students need to come in and just spend 20 minutes telling me what's going on with them, both in music and outside of music. And then they're able to finally like break open to where they're at and really create something beautiful. And so I feel like my job, I'm most successful as a teacher when I can try and figure out what that student needs. Because we're all different. And sometimes it varies from week to week. Sometimes the same student who talked last week wants to come in and there's like, I'm ready to go. Let's get out the scale book and go. So it's always kind of it's a game of educated guessing, I think.
And do you find that you have an age range or a level of experience of students that you like to teach, more advanced, more beginners, a little bit of everything?
I mean, I like them all for very different reasons. Starting students out is so much fun because everything's new. Yeah. And so everything is really cool right away.
So you do that. You do take total beginners.
Yeah. I have some that are only taught for a few weeks, actually. Maybe not a few weeks. How long have we been? A few months, maybe. It's probably.
How long have we been in lockdown?
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
10 years. It feels like.
Okay, approximately, right. Yeah. But yeah, I do start students, and I still have some that are at the beginner level. Intermediate students are really fascinating to me because there's a point, especially ones that I see that have great potential to go on and become wonderful, wonderful players. There's a point where we realize together as a team that they need to kind of amp it up in order to make things work for themselves. And how they choose to up the bar for themselves is a fascinating process. And I enjoy seeing it when they start to kind of unlock, like, oh, not everything's coming to me naturally now. I actually have to work on some stuff. And when they do that, and then they see themselves growing really rapidly, that's amazing. That might be my favorite, my favorite curve that happens in the learning process.
And speaking of teaching and students, Vivian Britton
Vivian,
is
hi.
watching on Facebook, and she's saying that you were her first teacher, and that now she's going to school for music.
I'm so proud of her. She's so great. Yeah. Yes, I started Vivian on violin before she switched to viola, and she's awesome.
Yeah, she is, and I'm so glad that she's Vivian. It's great to hear from you. That has to be a good feeling, right? That you started a student and you not only taught them but inspired them enough to, now they're dedicating, a significant part of their lives to music.
It's so cool to watch. I should say every student that I see go off, to school and to their post high school life, and whatever they do, I'm proud of all of them. I'm just it's such a thing to just get through high school, and then getting through high school when you're like in orchestra, depending on your environment, maybe presents even more of a challenge sometimes. So just seeing them grow and blossom and like focus on what they want to do and go, I think is great. But yeah, it's so cool when I see them take the music path. I think that's great. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And even those students who, go into other professions or areas for college or their after high school life, they will have music with them forever. And that's one of my favorite things too. And the friends that they make in youth orchestra are friends for life.
Yes, that's very true. One of the first people I met when I moved to Portland, she looked familiar to me, and I couldn't figure out why. And we had a gig together, and we did that game where we were like, okay, well, where are you from? Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? And we figured out that in the youth symphony, in the Front Range Youth Symphony, she was assistant principal viola the year that I was concertmaster. And we were like, oh, it's you. Oh, hi. And we were so out of context by that point that it just took us a second to recognize each other again.
Now, so you finish your master's, and you were just saying that eventually you moved here. How was that right after grad school? How long have you been in this area?
It was right after grad school, yeah. So I moved here in 2007, and I took the Portland Opera audition while I was still at grad school, and managed to get a spot. So that was what brought me out here, and then I've been able to develop this this life out here, which I'm so grateful for. Cool.
And now you have a 2-year-old?
I have
daughter?
A 2-year-old. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, she turned 2 in January. Yeah.
Is she showing any kind of musical inclinations?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm nursing a little callus that I had playing the mandolin for her because she stole all of my picks. I couldn't use a pick. So I had to use my thumb to play all of these little songs she knew, like nursery rhyme songs and Disney songs, and trying to get her dancing. And so she's into it.
Very nice.
Certainly into it. Yeah.
And Casey, speaking of music and playing, you've very kindly offered to play a fun piece for us here live on the Hangout. So is it okay if we transition to that?
Absolutely. I hope this works out. So what I've experimented doing, since I miss chamber music so much. I miss all musical collaboration really, but chamber music is a tough one too. That's so it's so personal. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just start playing duets with myself. So what I did was I started recording a track of one part of a violin duet and then playing another part over it. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do today. I hope all the mics are set. I hope all the levels work. If it doesn't, it's 3 minutes long, so it's okay. We can. So I'm going to be playing. It's an arrangement of "My Bonnie Flies Over the Ocean," and it's arranged by Alexei Agudisman, who I'm sure some of your students maybe have seen the YouTubes of Agudisman and Jew. So he's the violinist in that, and he's written some awesome arrangements of violin duos that I get a real kick out of. So
awesome, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice. How fun.
That was fun.
A super fun piece. And beautifully played. Thank you for playing that for us.
Oh, my pleasure.
So, are these arrangements available online to purchase?
Yeah, this one was from this book.
Oh.
Yeah, he's got a Celtic book. He has a klezmer book. He has a Latin book. Yeah, I found these all on Sheet Music Plus. So
How
you can
fun.
just grab those arrangements. Yeah.
And what a great idea to record one part and play over the other. Or I'm sure, many young musicians watching, maybe you could just pair up with a friend and then one of you record one part and the other one the other, make a little video or something.
Absolutely. It's so fun. I did discover that recording one of yourself, or if you have a recording, it's so much fun to do. And it's weird because it's not a live person. Like that recording of me plays it the same way every time. So there's that part of it is a little bit unforgiving, but it does give me a chance to really explore a lot of these duets, which are the ones he wrote are several levels, and yeah, they're really a lot of fun. I would recommend it.
And it's such a great exercise to just record oneself, right? I mean,
oh, for sure.
Your microphone won't lie to you. You know what I mean?
No.
It's like,
even when you want it to.
right?
Yeah, it won't.
Very cool.
It's
well,
true.
thank you for playing that.
Thanks.
And I want to remind our viewers that we have 3 statements on the screen right now. One of them is a lie. 2 of them are true statements. So go ahead and vote in the comments for which of these statements you believe is a lie, and we're going to reveal those a little bit later. Casey, tell me about your instrument, your violin.
Oh yeah, it is.
What do you play? What do you
So,
play on?
I don't know a lot about this maker, and a lot of people don't know a lot about this maker, but his name is Frederick Deal, and it's from 1874.
Nice.
And I lucked out on this instrument. I got it when I was in college. I think my junior year in college, and it was when I was shopping around for an instrument. I got them from Bearden's Violin Shop in St. Louis, because that was where my teacher got his. So that was just like, okay, I'll just start here. And I kind of told him a little bit about myself and my budget and what I was looking for. And he goes, okay, I'm going to send you 4. There's one of them I think you're going to like, but I'm not going to tell you which one it is. And it was this one. And it was the first one that I took out of the box and tried. And it was so fortuitous. And we've been a team ever since. So
how cool. And Soren Collins, another MYS
Hi,
violinist,
Soren.
is watching
Hi,
YouTube.
yeah.
And he wants to see the carbon fiber. Do you have a carbon fiber instrument or bow?
I'm trying to remember if I had. Yeah, I do. I have to unpack it real quick. Do you have a second?
Let's
I can
see
take out.
it. Yeah, of
Okay,
course.
all right, give me just a second.
That's exciting.
Hang on.
And I have I have an electric viola here in my studio that somebody donated to MYS, and I haven't had time to get it out, but I guess I should.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I forgot about that. I'm glad Soren brought it up. So the reason Soren knows about this is because he's been a camper at YMA, where I've been teaching for the past 10 years, and I always bring this violin because it is carbon fiber, and so like if I'm walking down a hall and somebody runs into it, like we're fine. You know?
And Casey,
okay.
for viewers who don't know what YMA is, would you mind just a quick
Oh,
explanation?
sure. Of course. Sorry, it's so part of my vernacular. YMA stands for Young Musicians and Artists, and it's a 2-week resident camp down in at Willamette University in Salem, Oregon. It has heartbreakingly been canceled this year, just like everything else. But it's one of the highlights of my year for teaching, especially. So.
And Soren has been there, and he has seen this instrument.
Yes. So this instrument has a little bit of fame at camp because it doesn't look like anybody else's instrument. I don't know if you can see. Yeah. So it's all one piece because it's just it's a carbon fiber, so it's not pieces of wood put together. They just make the mold and put that together. So the body and the neck, I think, it's just all one piece of carbon fiber, and the bridge is still wood. And the fingerboard isn't ebony. It's some sort of composite material that makes it more resistant to like weather. And that's another thing I use it for when I do wedding gigs and things that are outdoors. This is a lot safer to play outdoors than a nice wood instrument. So yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up.
And Vivian is saying that she thinks the carbon fiber violin is your signature.
I love that. Oh, my headphones fell off.
Here you go, your headphones.
Oh.
When you were in at Northwestern, I forget if he taught there or maybe he would go visit Charlie Pickler from the Chicago Symphony.
Oh yeah,
principal viola of the Chicago Symphony.
Yeah, he ran the viola excerpt classes there. I think the orchestral excerpt classes. Yeah.
So he owns a violin that he got, I guess, adapted with like a water seal varnish or something that you can play underwater. And then he got some sort of like electronic connection that you could basically like a cable came out of the violin to a speaker, so you can like go underwater and play, and then people out can sort of hear what you're playing. He taught at a summer festival that I went to when I was in high school, Suwannee. So I went there a couple of years in high school, and that was his thing. Like he would bring the violin, the underwater violin, and then we would all go to the rec center at the University of the South, and he would like get in the water and play Handel's water music, of course, underwater. And then he would let us take turns playing that violin.
Did you play it underwater?
Yeah. It was the weirdest thing.
That must have felt so antithetical to like what you're supposed to do with a violin. That must have felt so bizarre.
And you can't even really tell if you're making any sound or anything, but you're just kind of like struggling to, make contact with the string. But when you're outside, I mean, you do hear something. It's not like, doesn't sound super pretty, but.
Whoa, I had never heard of that. That's wild. I love it. Yeah. I love it.
I'm sure he still has it, and he still like brings it with him to wherever he's teaching.
Oh, I'm going to have to look that up. That's so cool. I love that.
I bet you there must be videos on YouTube of that.
There's got to be.
Yeah.
Underwater violin. Yeah.
And I have seen carbon fiber cellos, but this is the first carbon fiber violin that I've ever seen.
Oh, really? Yeah. So this is and it's a maker. I know there's an American maker, Lewis and Clark, I think, that does a lot of carbon fiber instruments. This one's actually a German maker named it's Mezzo Forte Instruments is where I got this one, and I've been very happy with it.
Yeah, that's a great thing to have, and like you were saying, for outdoor gigs and all of that.
Yep, definitely.
Cool. So before we continue,
yes,
I would like to ask you, Casey, if you would be willing to reveal one of your truths at this point.
One of my truths?
Let's reveal one of your truths. So let me read the statements out loud again for our viewers. Okay. Statement A, Casey was prom queen in high school. Statement B, Casey has a minor in philosophy. Statement C, she was once in a DDR tournament. So if you have not voted, go ahead and vote, Facebook or YouTube. But let's go ahead and hear one of your truths.
Okay, one of my truths is I do have a minor in philosophy.
Aha. Wow. Okay. So let's talk about that. I'm curious. So why?
Great question. It's part of the college
question.
If you will, yes. It's part of the college experience that I always, hope for my students, really, is that when you get there, you have your major and you have the thing that you're focusing on, and then you have all of this other stuff that pops up because you're meeting with people who grew up completely differently than you, and there are programs there that you've never seen before. And I took an introduction to philosophy class as a freshman, and I thought, well, this is kind of cool. And so I took another philosophy class the next semester, and I got a lot out of it, not the least of which is that it was something that I could really think about and get into that wasn't music, which I think was only helpful to my music and to what I was doing in that world of education. And so I honestly just went down to the philosophy office and I said, what does it take to get what kind of classes do you offer all the way through? What does it take to get a minor? And I think I just had to take like 3 or 4 more semesters of that. So it wasn't even quite every semester of my education. I just had to take a philosophy class and it fitted in my schedule. And those were the requirements. And so I did that, and I got to read a lot of fascinating stuff. I got to think about a lot of fascinating stuff. I would not call myself an adept philosopher by any means, but I'm glad I did it. It was a cool thing to dive into.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you that exploring other areas, whether, it's in the performing arts, a different instrument or a different, discipline, or liberal arts or anything you do, especially during college, will enrich your artistry and your musicianship, and it will give you richer context, I think, to grow.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. Yeah, the larger your context, like the better musician you can be.
So we can, very easily. I mean, we have to. I mean, practice. We have to spend hours in the practice room. That's part of our growth, especially in those years. But I think there's a lot of value in stepping out of the practice room and finding experiences that will enrich your artistry. And I think, a minor in philosophy is a great example of that.
I'm really glad I did it. Yeah. I I didn't do as well with exploring outside of music in grad school. That was 2 very focused, hyper intense years. So I've been working since then, since I graduated grad school, to try and find as many hobbies again as I can and as many outside interests as I can. So, and that's been really helpful.
Well, and of course, one of those interests and one of those, something you're spending time doing these days is, hosting a podcast.
That's true.
And before that, I know you blog. You have a blog on your website.
Yeah, it's a little bit more of a defunct blog, but yes, I was an active blogger for a little while, and then that kind of fell off the radar. And but yeah, the podcast is something I've had plans for several months, actually. I've been trying to put it together and organize it in my mind and figure out how I could really do it. And then when this all happened and we were all put under the lockdown, I at first thought I had to just kind of give it up. I was like, oh, well, because in my mind, it would be person-to-person interviews. Like I would be meeting people at coffee shops all the time and talking about whatever. But because of this awesome technology that exists, I'm figuring out with at least some degree of success how to get interviews going via Zoom, via FaceTime, whatever works. I have one scheduled for later tonight, actually, that I'll just be doing. It's an interview with somebody who lives on the East Coast, and I just get to talk to her for a little while. So I'm really glad that that's come to pass and that it's coming together, and actually now it's happening. It's more than coming together. It kind of happened, and now I'm a podcaster without realizing it.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And I enjoy your first 2 episodes. The first one on Hildegard von Bingen, and the second one on conducting.
Yeah.
And I like that you're exploring, topics as varied as talking about a composer, but then talking about a job or a profession, and it's. And I have not yet listened to your 3rd episode that dropped today, but I know it's about Symphonie Fantastique by Berlioz, which MYS Symphony Orchestra played 2 or 3 years ago.
Nice. Yeah. And that's a trip. Yeah. That's kind of a beast.
sort of ahead of its time.
Oh, very.
Piece.
Yeah. And bizarre. So yeah, in this podcast, I go, I talk about some of the themes in it. I really get into the story behind it. And just talk about how bizarre it was that this kind of stood out in a time when it's the Romantic era, right? So everything's like really, really grand and really emotional already. And then Berlioz somehow did that bigger. It's bonkers, but but it was a really fun episode to put together.
And for folks who want to check that out, what's the best way to get to your podcast?
So my podcast is called Keep Classical Weird. And so you can find it on my website, keepclassicalweird.com, or it's on Apple Podcast or Stitcher or wherever you do the podcasting thing.
And the name of your podcast, of course, is a reference to Portland, right?
Yeah, it's I wanted to tie it back to my roots because I've been so inspired to do something like this because of being here and because of what I do, and I wanted to pay homage to the wonderful music community that is actually here. But also, classical music is a world that is just inherently weird. There's a lot of bizarre stuff about it. And my mission, my secret mission, has always been to try and reach people and de-snobify classical music. I feel like that's a big barrier for us in terms of reaching audiences. Is that some people view it as snobby, and we all know that's couldn't be further from the truth of especially the people who participate in it. And so something to kind of cut through that reputation and reach more people with it and share the love and the joy that I have for what I do. Yeah, and so that's where the title came from.
Let's dig a little deeper here, because I know that goal or mission of yours, you've worked on that mission through other means or vehicles as well. And one of those vehicles is, sort of like a recital / lecture / presentation that you do. So how did those come about, and will you share with people what the concept is?
Of course, yeah. It's been an evolving concept for several years. I I've always really liked giving recitals. I think that might make me an anomaly and from some of my colleagues in the orchestra, but I adore giving recitals. But what I really love about it is being able to connect with an audience on an intimate level. And I don't think audiences should be expected to show up to a recital and know all the facts of all the pieces that they're hearing. The world's too big, right? The classical music repertoire is too big to expect anybody to know that. So I started developing upon the idea of, just your basic lecture recital, but then how to make it, even more consumable, even more relatable to audiences. And I had some concepts really well codified to do some presentations. When all this happened and I couldn't perform in front of audiences, I've been reformatting that a little bit. And so I have a video library that I've been developing called Casey Does Classical. And I just pick a piece out of the classical repertoire and I do kind of just a 5 to 7 minute presentation on it. That you can, so I've hosted them all on my Patreon page. So it's a subscription series. So that's patreon.com/Casey Bozell. And that gets you to this library. I've done a couple of opera plots in there, and I wanted to just get through the plot really fast so that I could get to the heart of the music and the good music of the opera. And so I did what's called a hastily compiled synopsis, which if you see that, you will see some drawings that I did of just, and I can't draw. I will put that out there. I'm not an artist, but I've done my version of stick figures to kind of get you along in the plot so that you can see what the synopsis is of the opera and then get into the meat and the heart of the music. So I'm updating that every week. I'm adding a couple more videos to try and get the library to be bigger.
Very cool. And with your podcast, how often are you going to be releasing new episodes?
Every week, every Friday, there'll be a new podcast. I'll be doing about 5 at a time, and then I'll do a shorter episode in the interim to kind of introduce the next 5. But yeah, every Friday there'll be a new podcast.
Very cool. Casey, let's go back to the really important stuff of this interview, and that's your 2 truths and a lie.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's time to reveal your final truth, which will, of course, reveal the lie as well. So, your final truth is...
do you have a guess?
Oh. Well, I have a maybe sort of half-educated guess based on something that I know about you. And my guess is that your final truth is C, that you were once in a Dance Dance Revolution tournament.
That is actually my lie.
Oh, you got me. Okay. Well done. Okay.
Yes, that is right. Now, there's a story behind that. I do enjoy Dance Dance Revolution a great deal, and but Dance Dance Revolution is the reason that I've been in crutches in my life before. So that was a really serious injury.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was in grad school. They had like one of those like DDR platforms that you see, and in like the student center. And I played, and I stepped wrong off the platform while I was doing like a big stomp with my right foot, and I got a wicked sprain on my ankle, and I was in crutches for weeks. It was a long time. I was in crutches. I don't think that DDR machine is there anymore.
That's awful. I'm sorry to laugh about it.
No, I do too. It was crazy. Yeah.
I mean, did you heard anything that has to do with your violin playing? I'm sure
everybody was fine. So
okay, wow. And well, tell me about prom.
Yeah, that was unexpected, but it is the truth about me that they do. I don't know how they, this was just in my high school that they kind of people put votes in for who they wanted to be prom queen, and I was involved not only in the music part of my high school, but I was also involved in the theater of my high school. And between music and theater, there was a large representation of people. And so it was a total surprise to me on prom night that I got the votes to be prom queen, but it was really funny. It was a surprise because I did not think I you think of prom queen as like a popularity contest, right? So I didn't think I was like a popular, I was concertmaster of the orchestra and that's how it happened.
Well,
And it was a lot of fun.
I have to say that I'm very proud of your classmates, your high school classmates, for their choice of prom queen. That's very
Oh,
cool.
well, thanks. It was an honor.
So, would you mind? I want to know a little bit more about this because I grew up in Costa Rica, and while there is a prom at the end of your senior year, it's like a dance, we didn't really do the prom queen and king thing. So this is, to me, something that I know from movies, and it's something that I know from just people, and I know it exists. But then, was this announced on prom night? Like, you had no idea that you were even like in the running for it?
No, I knew I was it. Okay, so they did. Thinking back on this seems insane that it was this many steps of like an election, but there were votes put forward, and then everybody could fill out, and it got down to like a final 4 finalists for queen and 4 finalists for king. And then on prom night, they brought out the finalists, and they had us all open a present. And they said, you'll know by the present whether or not you've won. This is in front of everybody.
So like reality TV like style.
It was yes, and it was before reality TV was really a thing. So it was bizarre on many levels. But so I opened my box, and I had a very nice tiara in my box.
There you go.
And that was it. And then there's like a dance that the king and queen do. And I still remember it. The king was a guy named Matt. I still remember him. He and I did a dance, and that was it. And then we got our pictures taken with there was like a robe, I think. I didn't get to keep the robe. I only got to keep the tiara. But
and then your life changed forever.
And look at me now.
Okay, well, so you got me with your lie, and we'll take a look at the comments later to see who else you got.
All right, excellent.
Okay, so now let's see. I told you now we have just 7 minutes to go.
I know, it's crazy.
But let's move on to our segment. What are you into?
Okay.
I'm excited about this one. So when you're not playing the violin or teaching or podcasting or creating engaging programs for people, what are you into?
I really enjoy some video games. I have a Nintendo Switch. That's my go-to right now. When I was in junior high school, I kind of centered right around my Super Nintendo. That was kind of my first entry into the world of gaming, which I still have sitting up in my shelf in the house. I still have the original system.
Oh, cool.
And all of my games. Oh yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I play it every once in a while. Yeah, it's just a good system. So it's how I get my release. And I feel as though some things like DDR, I think it's very helpful for things like sight reading. Because you'll look ahead, right? You have to look ahead to see what part of your body to use next. It's the same part of my brain. And I'm not saying it's a correlation, but I am a really good sight reader, and I am a really good DDR player. Despite the massive injury that I had, I am still a good DDR player.
What games are you playing on your Switch these days?
I haven't quite finished it yet, but I just got an indie game called Donut County. And it's Donut County.
Donut. Oh,
Donut.
Okay.
Yeah. Donut like what you eat. And you play from the perspective of a hole in the ground. It's so bizarre. But you go around and you kind of, you swallow little things up, you get things to tip into the hole, and then the hole gets bigger. So it's a lot like Katamari Damacy. I don't know if you've ever played that game where you roll up the ball and the ball gets bigger. It's kind of a similar concept.
I played a demo of it. I didn't.
Okay, yeah. So it's a similar concept, but instead of a ball, it's a hole in the ground, and then all of a sudden you're swallowing up like big boulders and houses and everything like that, and you're trying to do that to get to the next level, and It's delightful, actually. It's great.
Do you play Mario Kart?
Yeah. You play Mario Kart too, right?
Yeah, we need to. We have a Mario Kart thing going. I think it's growing. So we need.
Okay.
I'll send you my friend code.
Please do. I want in on that. Yes. Yes. I am not. Yeah.
Did you get the
Sorry,
Goose Game?
The Untitled Goose Game? Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's a great game. That's also a satisfying game, especially if you had like a big day and you just want to annoy people virtually. Like
Punk around.
yeah, punk around and like knock stuff off tables and walk away. It's great. Yes.
Did you do all the extra things after you win the game?
I didn't. My husband did.
Nice.
My husband went on and did all the. And in fact, our 2-year-old now knows. She knows like what mommy plays and what daddy plays, and she goes, "Daddy plays the goose game," is what she says a lot of times. Because he's still working on all the to-do list stuff. Yeah.
When I was in high school and younger, actually, I was into computer games. So I never had a console. I never had a Nintendo or a Super Nintendo. My cousin did. He lived nearby, so I used to play with him all the time. He had a Nintendo 64 and, you know, like
excellent.
Those classic games like Ocarina of Time and the
so
James
good.
Bond game. And anyways, but I was a computer gamer. And this was, of course, before the internet. So it's just... It's just a different sort of like concept of gaming, right? And every now and then me and my friends would get together and we would bring our big, our desktop computers and connect them all, you know, and play multiplayer like that. And then, you know, we got into like making our own computers, and eventually my friends, several of them actually, went into computer science or technology, but in high school, I got more serious about music, so I gradually kind of abandoned that.
Okay.
But, however many years ago, like whenever the Nintendo Wii came out, I got one of those, and when the Switch came out, I got one of those, and now I'm you know, with the baby, it's a bit more difficult now. You know, she's 14
hard,
months
right?
old.
Oh yeah, so she's gonna take up all your time. We found out when my daughter was a newborn. Like, you know, when we're staying up at night and trying to get her to go back to sleep, sometimes you do put her in the rocking chair and put her there, but the Switch handles fit really well in your fists, so you can totally hold a baby and just have like the Switch handles at your side. Yeah, it was a lifesaver when she was a newborn. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Very cool. Also, I happen to know that you're a big fan of a specific kind of pencil. Yes.
Palomino Blackwings.
You are our second MYS virtual hangout guest who's really into those pencils. So what's the deal with the pencils? Okay,
so they're so great. They are, I have some laid out here. Let's see. So the lead is soft enough, but dark enough, so you don't feel like you have to really scrawl into your part. And when you have music that's like, sometimes or especially original parts are always kind of dicey with how you write in them. So it's very good for music writing. The erasers are made of latex instead of rubber, so they never dry out. So you'll never have that problem of like, oh, my eraser's dried out. Oh no, like and they sell like replacement erasers too, because the erasers just like pop out of the pencil like that. And you can replace them. They are highly versatile. I have way too many of them. I have a Blackwing subscription where I get a limited edition set of 12. This is my latest one that I got a couple months ago, and they all look like that. There's a set of 12. I don't know when I'm going to break into this box. It doesn't matter, but I am. I am big into the Palomino Blackwings.
I have to get in on this, because that's two people that I respect enormously that are really passionately into these pencils. So,
I can send you some. The first one will be free, and then you'll be hooked. That'll be it.
I love it. Casey, as we get to the end of our time together, I would love to transition into our my favorite part of the show, and that's our segment that we call Sound Advice. And
awesome.
What we like to ask our guests is the following question. If you could go back in time and find 12 or 13-year-old Casey Bozell what advice would you have for her?
Yeah, and I would tell her, stop being so afraid to ask questions. That's what I would tell her. I think I experienced a lot as a kid, hearing that somebody knew about something and maybe being afraid that if I asked what that was, they'd be like, "What? You don't know that? What are you talking about?" And feeling scorn from that. And it's not really until recently in my life that I realized that people who actually react like that are kind of jerks. Like, why would you react like that to somebody trying to figure out something? So I think that prevented me from actually engaging in really good discussion and learning faster. And even my private teachers sometimes would bring up something and I was like afraid to say, wait, what do you mean by that? And I think like, oh, I don't know what that means. I'll just go look it up later. And it's so much more enriching, and your education is so much better if you just ask questions without worrying about what people think of you asking questions. Nobody should be shamed for having any sort of gaps in their knowledge.
Thank you for that. That really is wonderful advice, and it's so important too, because it questions open doors, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's a great way to put it. Yeah.
Something that's sort of related to asking questions, but this was Chris Whittemore, MYS's artistic operations manager. He was a
Yeah.
guest on the show early on, and one piece of advice that he shared, and what was actually the first edition of this segment, Sound Advice, was that he likes to, whenever there's conflict or whenever there's like a disagreement, to always start with a question, right? Instead of a confrontation. And, in a similar way, questions just open doors. And I think that's such great advice from your present self to your past self and to all of us right now. So thank you for that. And finally, Casey, our last segment, the plug. So if there's anything that you would like to plug, we already spoke about a couple of exciting things you're doing. So maybe you can remind people how to get to them, or if there's anything else, we would love to hear about that.
Yeah, I'll do the things we talked about. My subscription series, Casey Does Classical, is on Patreon, patreon.com/Casey Bozell. And my podcast is called Keep Classical Weird. And you can find it on keepclassicalweird.com or anywhere else you get podcasts. And it drops every Friday.
Awesome. And you guys go after this and listen to today's episode on Symphonie Fantastique. I know I'm going to do that as well. Casey, thank you so much for spending time with us. You've been such a fantastic guest. It's been great spending time with you virtually.
Saying that. Yes.
Thank you for playing for us, and thank you for your great advice as well.
Thank you so much. This was so awesome. I'm honored that you asked me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you in person, on stage, and teaching when things go back to normal. But
can't wait.
Then, yeah.
All right.
So thanks again,
Thank you.
Casey. And
yeah, you bet.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
Okay.
And if I click the right thing, okay, here you go. Bye.
Bye.
And thank you all of you for watching. Oh, wait, can you hear me? Yes, you can hear me. Thank you for watching. It was so fun talking to Casey. Join us again on Tuesday next week, May 19th. Our guest will be Monica Huggett, the artistic director of Portland Baroque Orchestra. And starting next week, we move to Tuesdays and Thursdays. Thursday, May 21st, Anthea Creston, incredible violinist. She's played with the Berlin Philharmonic and many amazing chamber ensembles. Tuesday, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and fix this right now. It says Friday, but that's a Tuesday. There you go. Tuesday, May 26th, Ron Blessinger from 45th Parallel Universe is going to be our guest. And then after that, Saturday, May 30th, 7 p.m., put this on your calendars, the MYS season finale online concert. This is going to be a big event, live streamed online. I will be hosting. We'll have MYS conductors make appearances, and each MYS ensemble is going to premiere a video that they have created together, each musician recording from home. We're putting all of the performances together, so you will watch the world premieres of a bunch of performance videos made by MYS students. It's going to be a really, really fun show. So put that on your calendar. You can watch that right here on the Metropolitan Youth Symphony YouTube channel. So thank you for watching, everybody. Thank you to Casey Bozell for being with us. I will see you on Tuesday. Be safe.